All right, welcome to Coffee with a Closer, where we sit down with professionals in the real estate community who are doing things at a high level. And you are in for a treat today because we have with us a veteran of the real estate community who has been #1 in Zion Beach Park in Winthrop Harbor for the past 16 years and has sold over 2,400 homes in her career. So welcome today, Lori Mattice.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, because certainly you are one busy person, and I'm really honored that you chose to spend this time with me today.
I'm happy to be here.
So we sat down yesterday and we had a little chat, and you kind of shared with me how you got into real estate. Would you mind sharing that story with us?
Sure. I say I went from hot dogs to houses because we had this deli in Winthrop Harbor. And I think I told you Brenda Lawler came in. She was ordering a salad. And I was like, I don't want to make her salad. She was negotiating with some client over the phone. She barely had time to order her salad. And I'm like, I want to be negotiating on the phone. I don't want to make her salad. I want to be on the other side of the counter.
Yeah.
And so I decided I wanted to sell the deli. And I started asking all the people that came in if they knew a good realtor, if anybody had anything good to say about any realtors in the area, you know. And I wasn't getting a lot of positive feedback. There were a couple names that kept coming up as being good ones that, people liked and trusted.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't getting a lot. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe there's a window here for me to also get in that game. And I used to be a realtor back in the late 80s before technology.
Okay.
When the interest rates got up to 18%, and it took 3 months to close a deal, and we had one book that came out once a week with one black and white photo. Things have changed quite a bit over the years in technology. So I went and got my license, and I found one seller to give me an opportunity to sell their home. And I just remember I printed it out like 500 times, and I shoved it in every sandwich bag, and I hung it on the sneeze shield,
Of the deli.
And they could not help but know that I was
Yeah.
a realtor when they came in to get a sandwich.
So you took the flyer and put it in every sandwich bag for everyone that came in.
Mm-hmm.
Genius.
And then the next thing you know, I had 2 listings, and I'm like, pretty soon I could sell this place because I had enough business kind of coming in. But when I did sell, I only had 3 months of reserve money.
Okay.
I had to be successful. I had to, because I had bills. I had a house payment and, that kind of thing. So
kind of like burn the bridges, right? We just have to make it, or no other choice.
And I was so unhappy. And I was, 45 years old, and I just couldn't make ends meet. I lived day to day. If it rained, we didn't have enough money to even pay for the food that we ordered. It was a great business, but we didn't have a profit margin.
Okay.
So we were super busy, but I didn't know
that
I was supposed to be charging more for the food, I guess. It wasn't my, expertise, but I was a good cook, so people liked the food. And anyway, at 9 years I did that and worked, probably 12, 14 hours a day. And I said, boy, if I took that amount of work and put it into something a little more lucrative, maybe I could have a savings account.
Well, I think things have worked out for you.
Yes, they have, and I'm very happy. I mean, the market was tanking in 2006 when I started. This is my 20th year.
Okay.
I got a little nervous, but I thought to myself, well, there's still buyers to buy, even though the seller's not getting what they thought they were worth.
Right, because that was a time of the big market crash, right?
Yeah, it was crashing hard, and all the realtors were jumping ship too. And that was another thing that helped, because I'm like, you can go home if you want, I'll do your floor duty. And I devoted a lot of hours out of the startup.
So, kind of transitioning into real estate from owning a deli, you had to build your sphere, right?
Right.
What were some things or activities that you did to kind of help with that?
Well, I was really known in the community already for my potato salad.
Potato salad?
Yeah, for my potato salad. And then, like I said, a lot of people started to know that I was a realtor, so I just started getting calls. And I was trying to do a really good job for people, as I always am.
Right.
And then just the word of mouth, I guess, got out. And,
Okay.
one thing I learned right out of the gate was you have to answer your phone when it rings.
Okay.
Okay.
Very
Immediately.
important.
Otherwise, they're going to call another agent.
Yeah.
Or you call them back within 5 minutes. I remember my message, if you got my voicemail, it used to say, I'm on another line. I'm going to call you back in 5 minutes,
Okay.
That's what it said, and I meant that. And
Yeah.
I called everybody back right away because that, I just hustled hard. Missed a lot of, my son's activities because I was always working, but I remember going to his football games. I was negotiating deals while I was watching him run down the field.
Yeah.
And I would say, hold on just a minute. And I'd hit the mute button. I'd say, go, Riley. And then okay, I'm back, But, it was just like a lot of juggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of multitask work.
Real estate has changed over the years
Yeah.
from that time, right? How I think when we spoke yesterday, you mentioned that there was like a book that came out.
Yeah.
And that was how you guys would sell the houses, right?
Yeah, it's changed so much, and in such a good way, if you ask me. Especially DocuSign, has helped me tremendously. I used to get in the car and go around. I'd have to print all the documents, get an initial here, go write an offer here. All of that was we'd print the forms, but we'd have to have the handwritten signatures. And DocuSign just made it so I could sit at my desk and send all these things out, you know? And you could do more then. You could do more. You could double your production, really, with DocuSign.
Instead of running around getting people to physically sign docs. That's kind of unheard of now.
And then there was a time where the MLS didn't really recognize teams, and I had agents, kind of under me, and we were working together and training agents and this and that. And I had to put my name on every single one of those contracts because there wasn't a team umbrella at the time through the MLS. And so I felt like I had to micromanage all of those transactions. And I spent a lot of time at my desk reading contracts and making sure all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. And it was a lot of hours, a lot. Okay, so if there's one thing I can say is don't think you're just going to do an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
Yesterday I worked 12 and a half hours straight.
Wow.
I put food in my car and I just went around. And thank goodness for all the apps. You can schedule stuff on your phone. You can send documents. I've got my laptop. I can hook up to my hotspot. All these things you have to stay on top of technology. Otherwise, you're going to be behind.
Definitely, there are good and bad with technology, right? But for the most part, it's all good. So you started out as a solo agent, and then at some point you did start taking on other agents on your team, right?
Yeah. At the moment that I couldn't return all the calls anymore.
Okay.
And I knew I needed some help.
Okay.
In order for people not to get mad.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you always answer your phone.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if I couldn't call them back, my voicemail that I mentioned a few minutes ago changed from I'll call you back in 5 minutes to I'll call you within the hour. And then it changed, I'll call you back before the end of the day. And boy, they call me at 7 p.m. They waited up for me to call them back, and I didn't want to. I wanted to go to bed.
Sure.
I've always been an early to bed, early to rise person.
Yeah.
But it was, I didn't get home till almost 9 o'clock last night from showing property.
Wow. Amazing. So there are some benefits to having teams and having some partners in that.
Yes, for sure.
I think what you said about tracking is really important. That's something that I haven't always done, but when I started tracking where is my business coming from, or what activities am I doing that are kind of getting this business?
Yeah.
That's something to help me realize what's moving the needle.
Right. Exactly. What do you need to do?
When you started out in business, right, and before you had a big sphere, what were some ways that you were able to get business?
Well, there were two things that I did. First, I would do a lot of open houses.
Okay.
And I don't think I told you about that, but it was crazy. Every weekend, I would do 4 open houses.
Okay.
2 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday. And I would give myself like a half an hour to travel from one to the other.
Okay.
And I would bring my laptop. I would make sure I knew what was on the market in that area, so that I'd even have lists printed out so that if a buyer came in, they didn't like the listing I was sitting at, I could say, well, this is what else is available. If you'd
Right.
like me to show you any of these,
Okay.
I'm available today at 4 o'clock, or whatever. Just always had to make myself available, no matter what. Okay?
And you did your homework.
And I did my homework. I had several things there for them to look at, but mostly they're looking for a house. So we have to focus in on what it is they need.
Right.
They need a list of other homes that are for sale, not just the one I'm sitting, right? And then, just my standard, meet Lori, which is the first time I'm meeting a buyer. This is what they're going to see, okay?
Yeah.
If they want to sit down and talk about all the steps of buying and get a little bit further down the process,
Okay.
why they should hire me as their agent, then I get this one. And I love to have a cup of coffee with anybody.
Yeah.
This is the one I leave with the sellers, by the way. Well, the other thing I wanted to say, too, was I was buying leads. So back to your other question about where I was getting my sources from open houses, and then from the lead generation sources, all the big guys. I was paying them a ton of money.
Okay.
And then I started tracking to figure out where all my business was coming from.
Okay.
And that's when I realized 85%, 90% was coming from past clients. So then I started focusing on them.
Right.
And reaching out to them. There was a time that I made peanut butter balls and passed out a box of peanut butter balls to everybody that ever bought and sold a house every December. And until I got to 700 boxes.
And you
December.
made these.
I made them.
Correct?
I delivered them. And I still deliver peanut butter balls. Yesterday I dropped off 2 boxes to a client and his parents. So
it's kind of your little niche,
that's
right?
kind of
what
my
you're
little
known
niche,
for.
the peanut butter balls. If you refer me to somebody and they end up buying or selling, you get a box of peanut butter balls. And if it's your birthday and I know you, I bring you a box of peanut butter balls. And I always have boxes ready to go. And I make a batch once a week.
I was going to say, how often do you make a batch?
Jeff helps me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing I'd asked you is, what advice would you give to maybe a newer agent or somebody getting into the business? And tell us about why it's important to sell yourself and some ways that you're able to do that.
Yeah. One of the things I started early on was developing a list called 10 Reasons Why You Should Hire Me. And if you can't come up with 10 reasons why someone should hire you, then you're probably not going to get hired.
Okay.
And there's lots of reasons why somebody should hire you, because you're hardworking, you're trustworthy. It doesn't have to be because you sold, a zillion homes or whatever.
Right.
Because at first, I remember one of my reasons was because I didn't have a lot of business and I could give, 100% of my time to you because you're my only client.
Right.
So there was this list that evolved over the years.
Right.
It became, I have a big marketing budget. I hire a professional photographer and show your home in the best possible light, and all of these things. And now with AI, you could probably drum up a list pretty quickly. But, sellers, sometimes when I get ready to hand them my list of why they should hire me, they say, oh, it's okay, you don't have to. You're hired, and I'm like, yay.
Yay.
But yeah, you have to smile a lot, because I feel like it comes through even over the phone if you're smiling or not. So be happy, be positive, tell the truth, and develop these reasons why somebody should hire you.
Yeah. And you come from a place of service, right? You really like to, you get invested, and you really like to help people.
I do. I love to help people. That's my favorite thing. It's very rewarding when I can hook a buyer up with a seller. The seller wants to sell to just the right person. The buyer wants to buy this perfect home. And when those two things come together seamlessly, and I get to introduce them to each other, and it's just like a nice, happy family there, you know. I love that connection. I just love doing that for people.
Yeah. You mentioned something. So when you first got into the market, it was kind of a tough market, right? The market was about to crash. And you said, well, I knew that there was a buyer and a seller that would match.
Right.
And that reminds me something that I heard from, I think it was a Tom Ferry quote, but they said, it's not the market, it's me, right? So we can't blame business on the market, right? Because the market's always going to be changing.
Right.
How are you able to keep that mindset? Is there any tips or tricks to have a positive mindset in this market?
Well, I feel like you kind of got to be a matchmaker, just like you were putting a couple together, you know? And I often thought about doing that on the side too, just FYI, just because I love and I love matching the right people up together. I don't know, it's something fulfilling about that. But yeah, I knew that even though the seller wasn't going to get what they wanted for the home, there was probably a buyer for them. So you just have to find the right people for the right, and part of that is listening, okay? If they say they don't really like stairs, don't take them to a raised ranch or a 2-story or a tri-level, you know?
Yeah.
Just show them ranches.
Yeah.
If there aren't enough, I mean, you have to say, this is all there is. And that's what we're doing now. Now it's tough. You know, there was a long period of time where I had to sit down with all the sellers and tell them what their home wasn't worth. And it was heartbreaking. They didn't believe it, you know, especially at first.
Yeah.
But I'm like, here's how the appraisal process works. They're going to look at everything that's sold within the last year within a mile. And here's what sold. So why do you think you're worth more than this?
Right.
Tell me how you get there.
And that goes back to doing your homework, right?
Yeah.
Because you do a lot of work up front before you get to that listing appointment, right?
Yep, I do an initial visit packet every time. That way I know what their square footage is, what all the websites have to say about them. You know, how many bedrooms, what style home is it? Is there more than one pin? You know, all these things, the lot size and everything I know before I get there.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to qualify sellers too.
Okay.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of information online. You could see if they're upside down. For a long time, we had to make sure they weren't upside down. You need to know if you're walking into a short sale situation, you know?
Yeah.
There was a lot of that going on for a while.
In order to kind of know this as a new agent, do you recommend them kind of maybe starting on a team, or what advice would you give a new agent? Because they might not know all of this little tips and tricks.
Right. So yeah, it's funny. A lot of the things you learn at school to become a realtor is not what you really need when you finally get there.
Yeah.
You need to know that contract. In Wisconsin, you know, I'm licensed in both states for 20 years, but in Wisconsin, they do teach you the contract at school. But in Illinois, it's more other things, I feel like. It's not really, you know, the contract. Okay, so when it came time for me to write my first offer, you know, somebody wants to write an offer, I was like, oh gosh, what do I do?
Right.
I'm just like a single fish here, you know? But my admin at the office sat down and showed me how to write it. And I was so grateful and thankful. She showed me all of what it meant. And she was really played a huge role in my understanding of the purchase contract and the listing contract. So it's not that you have to work for a team. That's good for leads, okay? If you don't want to pay one of those outside sources for leads, you can, you know, work on a team and then get leads that way. And get some training and some help. But of course you have to pay your lead, the top lead, which is me, for that knowledge, you know, and leads. Remax Plaza, the office that I work for, they offer training almost every week. I'm getting some kind of notice that this class is going on, that class. They got 100 Days of Greatness. They have a lot of good training.
Okay.
And for the new agent and for the seasoned agent,
Yeah.
you know, just a lot. And so if you get in an office that has training, some of them claim to have training, and then it's a little weak.
Okay.
But I think ours is really good.
So things are always changing and evolving, and it's always good to kind of just keep up and see what's new with AI and everything out there. There's just something is always changing.
Yep, always. And it's another thing, not to plug Remax Plaza. I know Rob's going to appreciate this and Piero, but every week we get a memo with everything that's been changed or coming or is going to be changing, and we can read that and make sure we read that no matter what, because then we stay on top of everything. We have somebody looking out for us.
Yeah.
So get with a good brokerage.
You mentioned that when you got into business the second time after the deli that you had a son. Your son was 13 at the time, who I know you're very proud of. How did that influence you?
Like I said, we only had 3 months worth of reserves. So I needed to hustle. I mean, we had bills to pay, and I still had debt, you know, that needed to be paid. I didn't become, I guess you could say debt free, but without credit cards and things like that until I was 50.
Okay.
Okay. So it hasn't been that long, but once I got over the hump, you know, things started to become easier. I had some spending money, you know. I could make the house payment and have some spending money.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a real motivator for me, is I didn't want to live in the day-to-day, week-to-week paycheck life. That wasn't for me. I worried a lot. I stress ate. I was way overweight because I just ate all the time. Every time I was worried about how I was going to pay a bill. You know, some people don't eat.
Yeah.
I ate double. Yeah, you know, and so I wanted him to go to a private school, Christian Life School, and he did. He went there until he became a freshman. They didn't have football at the time, so we sent him over to Shoreland, another great school. Yeah. And I just wanted to be able to afford that so that he could have, you know, a really good education and a good life. And
he was your why.
He was my why.
You've seen a lot of, you know, success, right, in your career, but a lot of times with that success comes a lot of work. Yeah. How do you balance that? How do you balance the me time? For the longest time, I would keep Sundays as like, I knew I'd probably do an open house on Sunday, and by the time 3 o'clock on Sunday came, I could pretty much take the rest of the day off. Right? Okay. Sundays, I would always not schedule anything Sunday afternoon so I could have family time. It never failed. There would be somebody that just had to see this house, and I knew it would be gone on Monday, you know, and that's what the kind of market that we're in now. Yeah. It's like you have to make choices, you know, but now at least I try not to schedule anything until 11 a.m. Okay. So that I can wake up at 6, look at my phone, kind of maybe tinker in the kitchen. At 7, I have coffee with Jeff. At 8 o'clock, I exercise. And at 9 o'clock, I hit my desk. At 10 o'clock, I got to get in the shower. Because at 11 o'clock, my day starts. So it's good to have a routine. Right. And it helps you stay healthy, eat good. You know, you have to do your food prep on Sundays. You know, I mean, I have a spinach smoothie every morning. Okay. I feel really good with what I'm eating now, which is whole foods and things like that. So good. Very good. I've slowed down on the old fashions quite a bit. Awesome. Do you have any like funny stories or memorable stories that stick out over the years? Boy, you know, it's a scary world. When somebody says they want you to come over and you pull up and you've got this eerie feeling, right? Okay. You're like, whose house am I really walking into? I'm all alone. Right. You know, I don't have mace. I don't have a gun. I don't have,
anything to protect myself. And I'm
Right.
just walking in. And, sometimes I want to say follow your gut. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I've never been assaulted, but there's been some times where I wouldn't walk in front of anybody.
Okay.
I would make them walk in front of me.
Okay.
So if you're ever scared, say, lead the way.
Okay. That's
You
good
lead the
advice.
way. Yeah, you don't turn your back on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They might slug you over the top of the head. You never know.
Yeah.
But there's been a couple times where I was clenching
kinda
my
had that
fist because
feeling.
I thought I was going to have to punch somebody,
Oh no. Yeah.
But you just have to be careful. And,
Know your
if
surroundings.
somebody's in your life, you could share your location always.
Okay. That's another good tip.
Yeah. And then Forewarn is an app that agents use. I highly recommend
Okay.
you look these folks up before you go.
Okay.
They could have a huge criminal background that you need to know before you enter into an agency relationship or, an agency relationship.
Which goes back to doing your homework, right?
Right.
Do your homework. Any funny stories?
Oh, funny. Yeah, you said funny.
I said funny or memorable. That would certainly be memorable.
None that come to
No.
the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure every day I enjoy what I do, so I laugh a lot, and
You always smile.
I like to get to know people and their personalities. People are wonderful, and just it is comical sometimes just to hear accents and just the things that people say and
Every
do.
day is different, right?
Every day is different, and it's like every home is different. And I love it when I walk into a house and they say, "Now we used to have a wall here, and this is what we used to look like, and this is what we used to do." And I'm thinking, I know, but right now I just need to see what you have now that you're selling. You know what I mean? But they always want to tell me about the wall that used to be there. It's just funny, but
yeah.
no, I mean, no real funny stories. I love people. I love talking to people and visiting and meeting them and hearing about the wall that used to be there.
That's why you're such a good matchmaker. All right, I got a very small gift for you there.
Thank you.
It's my Coffee with the Closer mug.
Thank
so
you.
I really do appreciate your time
Let's
today.
see. This is so nice. Coffee with a closer. Boop, boop.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really do appreciate you taking the time out. I know you're
welcome.
super busy. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Well, you can just call me at 847-764-HOME, which is 847-764-4663. You can email me, Lori Mattice at remax.net. Or reach out to me on one of my social media platforms. Market Talk with Lori Mattice is my business Facebook page. And then, I mean, if you just type in Lori Mattice on Google, I'm going to come right up. So I hope to hear from you.
All right, thank you so much. This has been a great episode of Coffee with the Closer. And if you want to reach out to me, you can find me at Michelle Garibay, 262-496-4582. Follow me on social, and of course, follow Coffee with the Closer.